Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Trojan Conquest call-in show. This is where you guys are the stars. We are a caller-driven show. We may not be the last, but we are the first to give it to you guys. Turn the show over to you. We have so much to talk about today. Beautiful coming off of that Holiday Bowl victory with Miller Moss. It's Miller time, his coming out party. We're going to talk about Miller, talk about how it really changes everything as far as the NIL and the portal situation might be, what maybe we're looking for shopping within the portal. Also going to talk about just a great offensive line display, just absolutely where did that come from? Some shuffling up front made all the difference in this game. And then also talking about those fabulous, amazing wide receivers USC has here. Looking forward to 2024. Matt, we've got a lot to talk about, but what's on your mind? What's the first thing that jumps off the table to you?
Miller Moss, right? Like this, that he has to be the number one headline. First start and, waiting forever after Caleb Williams played the last 2 seasons, stayed loyal to the program. Lots of other players would have transferred out. Lots of other players would have said, see ya, I'm out of here, and stuck with the program. We were all pulling for him. But the thought process going into this game was this is his audition, not just for USC, but maybe he'd go to the portal and he'd become a QB1 elsewhere. No, he knocks it out of the park, and it's really hard to think that he won't be the QB1 for USC. It really is a storybook development, just magical, really magical, and everyone at USC is just so happy for the kid. We both are here. Everyone in the chat is really thrilled for him, and like he looked legitimately good. And this was a Louisville defense that was strong during the 2023 season. And I wrote at Trojans Wire before the game, like it's good that Miller Moss is going to go up against a legitimately strong defense. He's not going to go up against Swiss cheese. He's going to go up against the real thing. Louisville was extremely strong if you looked at the stats, especially in first quarters and fourth quarters all season long. I mean, that's how Louisville won 10 games despite having Jack Plummer at quarterback. So this was a legitimate defense that Miller Moss was going up against. This was a legitimate test, and he aced the exam, right? Like this wasn't a B+. This was just absolutely hitting a grand slam home run inside the home of the San Diego Padres. So Dodger fans can relate to that. I mean, what more could you realistically have expected from Miller Moss? Could you have imagined him being that good? He threw 6 touchdown passes. Like that's Caleb Williams video game style stuff. Joe Burrow has the all-time bowl record with 7 touchdown passes. So Miller Moss and Joe Burrow in the same sentence, were any of us thinking that was going to be one of the headlines, one of the takeaways from this game? So Miller Moss absolutely crushed it. And you can see how much every USC Trojan, every teammate, every player believes in him, trusts him, and very crucially, Tim, and everyone watching here at the Voice of College Football, look at how hard everyone played for him. The receivers were getting open, offensive line blocking, like they are going to the wall for this guy. So like if you have someone who is not only legitimately good on the merits as Miller Moss was, but someone who inspires that level of competitive quality, that level of effort and energy, wow, that is your leader. That's the guy you want to go to battle with in 2024 in the Big Ten. So obviously we're going to be taking your calls on a ton of different stories and topics. So much to talk about. So definitely want those phone calls to roll in. But of course, Miller Moss's amazing performance is the banner headline event from this game.
Miller Moss was the guy. He grew up, a Trojan. He said this was his dream. He's been a Trojan his entire life. Just great to see this young man come out and has himself a game, solidifies himself. There's a lot of questions, worried about, Will Howard. We got to get somebody in the portal. Everyone's all worried about, Cam Ward. Who can we bring in to cover for next year? Who's going to take over for Caleb Williams? Well, it was great to see Miller come in and say, hey guys, relax. I got this. Hold on a minute. I've got this. I've been here a couple of years. Riley has all confidence in me. He says, I know this offense better than anybody in the whole team. I'm going to come in here. Not only that, really, Matt, leading up to the game, the way he spoke, the way he carried himself as a leader, saying, hey, I'm pretty much, I was made for this, man. This is my job. I'm a Trojan. I love being a Trojan. I'm not going to the portal. I'm here. I'll be here in the spring. Just absolutely letting everyone know, what he's made of. And the fact he says he want to put his team on his back. I've been dying to pull up this, Juan Reyes, you guys, if you don't follow him on Twitter, but go out to Twitter. I can't find the video, but there's an absolute beautiful video of him. As soon as the game's over, he comes on the field, you see Miller coming off, you see Caleb just grab him, that big bear hug, and you can just see the admiration between those two. You know that Caleb knows he's leaving his team in the hands of a very capable guy in Miller Moss, and it's going to be great to see Miller develop. They're probably going to bring in someone younger, but we'll get to that later on. We do have a call. Thank you for being so patient, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Gary from Dana Point.
Gary. All right. Love it. How you doing, Gary?
Hi. I love you guys. Love your show, everything. I have nothing but positive, ultimately, things to say. But, and I'm very excited about what I saw on Wednesday. I'm very excited about the Trojans. But I listened to something that happened when Jalen Smith received his trophy. And sometimes kids will use words that don't really fit, but they just throw them out there because they heard it somewhere. But here's what he said. He said, we have gone through the challenges through different atmospheres. Challenges through different atmospheres. And I thought that might have been just a slip up, but then I began to think maybe it's Freudian or profound, because I have heard, and it's been all over YouTube, but I've heard concerning the atmosphere in this locker room of this team. I have someone I know who is a real insider. If I mentioned his name, you'd know it. I don't have permission to do that, but confirmed that the locker room was a mess. And when I saw what I saw Wednesday night, these kids looked like they had been let out of jail. I thought there'd been an exorcism. I was surprised there wasn't a Catholic priest on the sideline, because these kids played on fire. That defense Wednesday, if we'd had that defense, we might have won a couple more games.
Absolutely.
So what I'm getting at is I am totally enthused with the idea of the talent we have, combine it with a good locker room. I played football, several different teams. I know what it's like to be in a good locker room and a bad locker room. A good locker room can win you 5 games. So anyway, I don't want to know what you guys thought. So I think that in addition to the talent and the phenomenal performance of Miller Moss, who is our quarterback, by the way, I think we have the right brew, the right ingredient to mix together a championship team. If not this year, at least we're laying the foundation for it. What do you guys think?
Well, first, I think I'm glad Gary led this off, man. Way to put it so eloquently. Yeah, there was definitely something different. I'm glad to hear that. It's kind of clear to see, though. You can see the way kids were carrying themselves on the sidelines towards the end of the year. You didn't even peek inside the locker room to see just how it was. Look at Caleb. Even at some point, they were just dejected. The fact that the offense felt they had to score so many points because the defense couldn't stop anybody. I'm really excited to see how Miller can lead. Not that Caleb didn't. Caleb seemed like a capable leader in himself, but just the way that this team rallied around Miller. That's been a storyline for a bunch of people I respect that have been talking about it. The fact that you could just see it clearly that this team wanted to ball out for Miller. They knew this was Miller's shot, and they were really giving it, 110%, right? That old cliche. But I really think that was happening on the field. And you can't help but pull for a guy like Miller, a true Trojan. He's been the whole time. He sat behind quietly and just been a backup. Hasn't been a problem. Just waiting for his time. It shows up and he showed out. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, Gary, great observations. And I think one of the really key points to make and amplify for everyone here, not just yourself, but everyone watching us, is that, Danton Lynn did not coach this game. Matt Entz did not coach this game. Doug Belk did not coach this game. Like the all-star defensive coaching staff that's coming in didn't have a hand in the game plan, didn't have a hand in the direct preparation. And yet the defense plays like this. So what are we left to conclude? This was addition by subtraction. This was a product of the guys who weren't there, not just 20 some odd players, but more centrally, Alex Grinch and Dante Williams. Those two guys out of the picture, the defense improves markedly. And let's circle another key point while we're at it. Which position group on the defense made the biggest leap relative to the regular season? It was the secondary. Clearly, secondary didn't get beaten over the top, was sure with tackling, was much more aggressive, filling gaps, getting, handling tackles when called upon. It was the secondary. And so Taylor Mays, who had a minor staff position, he got elevated to interim safeties coach. So he had much more of a role in that secondary with Dante Williams out of the picture. So, the math equation is pretty clear. Some guys got out, other guys got in. And again, not even with Lynn, Entz, and Belk, not even involved in this game. Taylor Mays, he hopefully will be retained on the 2024 staff by Lincoln Riley, but mostly it was the guys who were no longer around. And, I don't get into the deep drama of the locker room all that much because there's so many whispers and gossip and everything. But we can pretty clearly say that Alex Grinch's roster and personnel decisions were holding everything back, and that the quality of Dante Williams' teaching technique, teaching form, X's and O's in the secondary were also holding everyone back. So with those two guys out, we saw this massive leap in performance. It's not a coincidence. And that should give us so much encouragement for next year because, again, we didn't even have the rock star defensive coaches that are now going to be coming in for 2024. So you take this improved performance with Taylor Mays and with others left over on staff, and then you bring in the defensive rock star coaches for 2024. Man, defense is back at USC. It's very exciting, Gary.
Yeah, really quickly, guys, if I could, I'm going to slide over here, Matt. Guys, right down here is the subscribe button. Thank you guys so much. Every week, it's kind of disappointing to see that we have tons of viewers, but most of you guys are not subscribed. Please, we're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month. We only have a couple more days. Do us a favor. If you're not already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. That way, when we go live, we will be going live. I know with the Friday night show and the Monday night show, but we also will be going live randomly. And if you are subscribed and you do have the notification bell on, you'll know when we go live because we will be announcing any big moves by USC. We always want to hear from you guys. Gary, anything else for us?
I'm having a hard time coping with the Oklahoma loss. It's really hard to stop laughing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I enjoy you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary.
Happy New Year,
Appreciate
Gary.
it always.
Thanks for your support of our show.
Have a happy New Year, Gary.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we talked about Miller now. Maybe we should break in and we should start talking about that offensive line move. Just a couple of things. So you have we saw Alani Noah earlier in the season, but now we started to see. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Sorry, we got our call. This is a caller show, so I'll hold my little speech for later. Hi, thank you for calling. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, boy, it's Russ from San Diego.
Russ, how you doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. I think we're all doing pretty good right now.
Yeah, absolutely. What's on your mind?
Yeah. So, what's on the topic of the quarterback play, I'd like to maybe, expand the conversation a little bit to just the offensive play sort of at large. And, this sort of offensive performance here, it's not that we hadn't seen it at all over the past couple years. I mean, certainly we're the number one scoring offense for over the last 2 years. I'm not trying to nitpick or whatever, but this felt like the sort of offensive methodical, we start simple and by the end of the game, we're hitting deep balls, like sort of thing. And the defense has no answer. This felt like a game that you would see Lincoln Riley coach in Oklahoma. And, you know, it's not that we haven't had some of these games before, but it's just, you know, it's very interesting. And I know it's kind of sacrilegious to offer up any criticisms of Caleb Williams. And I'm not suggesting that, look, I think the guy's going to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I think he's going to go to the Pro Bowl multiple times. He's going to, you know, one of those people where you're going to have slotted to go into the Hall of Fame while he's still in his 20s. But, you know, I just felt at times that he was hesitant to use his legs at the beginning of games, unless it was to, you know, scramble behind the line of scrimmage. A lot of times the short passes we'd throw would be after he would, you know, go through the progression of deep balls, which, you know, I understand you have to do sometimes, but it was very interesting to see us kind of start simple and go from there. And I think we were missing that at times. So I am excited to see what, you know, again, I'm like, listen, Caleb, again, the ceiling on Caleb Williams is absolutely off the charts. So I'm not trying to say that, you know, I mean, there were games that he won us that Miller Moss would not have won us.
Okay.
But
Russ, let me jump in. Like, it's very clear that there were a few things that Miller Moss did in this game that Caleb Williams wasn't doing during the season. And the number one thing, we all agree, got the ball out quickly. He took the check downs. He took the short passes. You know, when something short opened up, you know, like he was willing to take 5-6 yards instead of always looking for the big play. So definitely, like, there are certain things that Miller Moss did that Caleb Williams didn't do. And like, we weren't expecting it, but like, that's exactly what happened. It's why the offense, part of why the offense looked a lot better. But here's the other thing, you know, with Caleb Williams, and we saw how majestic he was when he won the Heisman in 2022, and he could make something out of nothing. He could, you know, spin around several times in the pocket, like that masterpiece against Notre Dame, you know, when he just had that sixth sense and he could sense when pressure was coming from the backside, and he'd twirl and he'd dart around and he'd leave, you know, 3 or 4 elite Notre Dame defensive linemen just in the dust. Like, Notre Dame didn't play terribly on defense in that game. Caleb Williams was just so much better than the Irish were on that night. When you have a quarterback with that kind of transcendent ability, guys who's going to be a number 1 pick in the NFL draft, it's easy for guys to then to absorb that over the course of an offseason and then going into a new season in 2023 and think, Caleb's going to make the play. Caleb's going to do what it takes. Caleb's going to rescue us. And I can't shake the notion that for a large part of this season, there was just a sense in this USC team, this USC offense, of Caleb's going to figure it out. Caleb's going to make the play. And so with Miller Moss in here, there was a realization among every USC player. Oh, no, it's Miller Moss isn't going to save us. I have to do my job. He has to do his job. We have to do our jobs. We have to work together and be 11 working as one, instead of just, you know, letting your quarterback make a showtime play. There's a much more of a team concept, and this is not a negative commentary on Caleb. It's just because when you have a super duper star, there's a tendency to just ball watch or be a spectator as a teammate and think he's going to make it all happen. But with Miller Moss, there was an awareness, a very concrete awareness. We all have to do our jobs for our teammate. And that was lost. That was missing. And that was part of the incomplete culture of USC this season. So it's not a negative verdict on Caleb Williams. It was a sense of Caleb's going to be our bailout mechanism. Caleb's going to be the rescuer. Now we got back to true team football, complementary football, with the receivers getting open quickly. Where in the F was that all season long? I mean, if you gave that to Caleb Williams, we would be 10-2, probably playing in one of these New Year's 6 games right now. You know, the offensive line, it wasn't dominant, but it certainly did its job. And one of the specific things the offensive line did was, if it did allow pressure, it allowed pressure from the wider side of the field, so that Miller Moss would have a few seconds to make that quick check down before the pass rush could get there. You had so many different things working together with this offense, and that speaks to everyone realized our quarterback is not a superstar. Our quarterback is our teammate. We have to pick him up. That is one of the central things that was missing from USC's regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. Really quickly, I just wanted to say we just got 2 new members. First off, welcome Danny Kennedy. He joined the channel membership. Thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us. We're gonna have a lot of actually it's just member specific content that you're gonna be able to tap into. Appreciate you stopping by and joining the membership. Also, David Zapata, thank you so much also for joining. Also a YouTube member. Appreciate everything you guys do for us. Again, without you guys, without your support, we couldn't make this happen. And one more thing, talk about support. Gigster Squid. The great thing about Miller the whole time, he said, Coach, I don't care who you sign. I'm a Trojan. I'll compete with anyone. That's the kind of guy you want. That's what OC Graham Harrell said. Oh, back in 2021. Wow, interesting.
That's a great
So I mean, going back, so you're probably talking about bringing in. So you're talking about bringing in anybody, including like a Caleb Williams. In that case, he stayed, and now it looks like when they're talking about bringing in Will Howard, he said, "Hey, I don't care. I'm going to stay." You're absolutely right, Gigster. That's exactly what we want to see. We want to see somebody who says, "I don't care who you sign. You know, I'm a Trojan. I'm going to compete for my job in the spring," and that's awesome. Great quote, Gigster. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat, and thank you more importantly for that awesome quote. So, Russ, anything else for us?
Yes, but Matt, that was perfectly said. And one more thing on the quarterback, and I'd like both your thoughts on this. In this sort of age of transfer portals and kids are really planning for their futures as they should be from a very young age, we kind of have this interesting conundrum that's brewing. And I think it's one of the reasons that Malachi Nelson left is that, we got this generational talent, or, Juju Lewis, who's being billed at least as a generational talent, coming in either 2025 or 2026. And I think whenever he comes in, we have to start him to get the most out of him. We have to start him as a true freshman because he's only going to be playing for us for 3 years. So I'm curious, how do you guys think we're going to sort of navigate, the quarterback room? Like, if let's say, like, I want to give the job to Miller Moss, and, we have one other guy on the roster right now. We need a third quarterback, but, who could we get that is a suitable backup, but won't, if we get someone, after this game that Miller Moss had, I think he'd be well within his rights to transfer somewhere if we brought in like a Will Howard. So, I think this is a tricky situation to navigate. So I'd like your guys' thoughts on this.
Yep, let's tackle this. This is definitely going to be part of the show tonight. I think that Lincoln Riley should definitely say right now, Miller Moss is our QB1. I think because the way everyone rallied around him, you need to reward that. And you need to tell the team that, hey, I believe in this guy because our team believes in this guy. Like, I think it's really important for Lincoln Riley to just put down the marker now and say Miller Moss is going to be our starting quarterback for LSU. I really think he should do that because I think that's going to get the team excited. It's going to build energy, belief into the offseason. But the idea that you're going to have a QB1 on opening day, that doesn't mean he's going to start all 12 games. Like, we remember 2016, right? Max Brown gets the start against Alabama in Arlington. That didn't mean he was going to start every game. And, of course, if Clay Helton had chosen Sam Darnold, who knows what might have happened, in those first 3 games of that 2016 season. But Miller Moss should be QB1 for opening day. Obviously, USC does need another quarterback. Now, I think the ideal scenario here, and like, I don't know what the actual reality is, but, I think there's certainly a legitimate basis for the belief that Malachi Nelson transferred out because he thought Will Howard was coming in the portal. What if Malachi Nelson rescinds his name, withdraws from the transfer portal, comes back to USC? That would be my ideal scenario. But if that doesn't happen and Malachi Nelson wants to play elsewhere, then USC is going to need to go to the portal. And connected to what I just said, it should not be as a competitor for QB1 against LSU. It should be as a guy who's willing to be the backup and who's ready to come in at a moment's notice if Miller Moss is not hitting his marks. So, You don't want to have that higher tier NIL expenditure for your quarterback spot now. Like, that's one really productive thing that Miller Moss has done. He's kept a roster spot spoken for. He's not going to transfer out, so USC is not going to have to extend a bigger bag to an incoming portal quarterback. USC should be looking for a backup. And I would say, if you're looking for a backup, now Lincoln Riley is going to have to make the sale with someone and say, hey, you're not going to be QB1 on opening day against LSU, but if we need you, if you need to be called upon, we want to have you ready as a strong number 2 option. I think that's the way Lincoln Riley needs to put it. That's going to be where USC is going to need to get a quarterback in the portal under those terms and conditions. And so let's shift our views here a little bit in terms of what we then expect. Like Cam Ward, you're probably bringing him in as a QB1. Jaden DeLora, who entered the portal, with Noah Fafita, displacing him at Arizona. Jaden DeLora strikes me as a guy who might fit that QB2, be a prepared backup just in case. I'm not saying he would likely take that set of conditions, but I think it would be more likely to take that than Cam Ward would be. Obviously, if it's Will Howard, you're bringing him in with the expectation he'll be QB1. So I think Will Howard would be out of the picture right now. But the larger point is that Lincoln Riley's portal QB focus now should be adjusted, where he tells the incoming portal QB, we're not bringing you in as our expected opening day quarterback. We're bringing you in as the backup that we might need, and are you willing to be that guy who, can learn from me, Lincoln Riley, the quarterback whisperer, but Miller Moss is going to be our guy on day one. But if Miller Moss slips up, we will need you. We will count on you at USC. I think that's how the parameters of the situation have changed.
Yeah, I'm with you, except for one point. I don't think Jaden DeLora is going to be able to make it into. I just think because of his issues he's had in the past, might preclude him from being an option. But I'm with you on everything else. It has to be someone who's going to come in and at best try to compete with Miller for that position. Definitely not someone who's going to walk in and say, "Hey, listen, I got 1 year left. I want to be the starter." So that's definitely going to be, it narrows it down. But I'm sure Lincoln's going to find someone, because the idea here is obviously, you're looking to ride this thing out with Miller Moss, and you need a capable backup. And then in 15, bring along Julian Juju Lewis. That's the plan, right? That could change too, So I think right now they need to find a filler, because you can't go into this season. Jensen had made a great play on that 4th down. Hats off to him. Matter of fact, there was a super chat from the post-game show. So sorry we didn't get to that, but absolutely true. He came in and filled his rollout. But I don't think we're going to want to go into 2024 into the Big Ten if Miller goes down and working with Jensen as our quarterback.
And just one extra point to throw in. Got some people in the chat saying, this is USC. We don't search for backups. Hello, you need backup quarterbacks in football. Have you checked the NFL season?
You're one play away.
Checked out what's going on in the NFL, what happens every year in the NFL, and how certain teams are just absolutely withering on the vine without a capable number 2 quarterback. USC needs a number 2 quarterback. Have you been watching the Cotton Bowl tonight with Ohio State? Without Kyle McCord, they can't tie their shoelaces on offense. And weirdly enough, you have Ohio State fans clamoring for Will Howard. Like, Ohio State now wants to scrape the bargain bin because it doesn't have a backup behind Kyle McCord, who transferred to Syracuse. So Ohio State would love to have a half-decent number 2 level quarterback, and the Buckeyes don't right now. So get off that high horse about, this is USC, we don't search for backups. You will need a backup. And I just mentioned 2016. What if Sam Darnold was not backing up Max Brown, huh? What if USC did not have a good number 2 waiting in the wings 7 years ago? Stop.
Yeah. It's you absolutely need a solid backup. Granted, you're just going to derail usually your season if it's depending on what happens, but you cannot go into a season with just one quarterback. Russ, sorry, we kind of went on a long-winded way of talking about that, but anything else for us really quick before we move on?
No, that was great, guys. That's all I got. I'll open up the lines for other guys, and fight on, boys.
Fight on. on, Russ. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm giving up on that video. You guys make sure you go check that out though. It's just an amazing video to watch if you're a Trojan fan. Let me see really quickly. And then sorry to get the comment earlier. I'll bring it back in a second. Hello, caller. You're on with Matt and Tim. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Matt and Tim, how you guys doing? It's Leon from Orlando again.
Leon, nice to hear from you again.
Hey, listen, man. Watching USC win the other night was a great game, man. Want to congratulate Taylor Mays and the excellent coaching job he did with the secondary. Man, what more can you say about Miller, man? He did his thing. It shows what happens when you take your time, buy into the process, stay loyal to a team, and when you get your chance, you step up and you do your thing. And he just looked excellent out there. If he's not QB1 next year, then we need to look at Lincoln Riley and check his head, man, because something might be going on there. The other thing, Jalen Smith, the most consistent defensive back we had all year. And somebody else who showed consistency when he got the chance, Fagans. I can't remember what game Fagans got some time, but he tackled, he can cover. He was a great addition through the transfer portal this year. Elijah Page and Emmanuel Pregnon, I think we need to be happy with that guard tackle combination going into the Big Ten next year. Elijah Page is just going to get better. It's going to be Emmanuel Pregnon, second year in the system. He's going to get better. And then you can see with the guys we have coming in with our freshman class, we're looking real solid at offensive line. And I'm going to agree with Matt. I don't necessarily agree with Matt all the time, but I'm agree with him on this one. Maybe we need to go back and talk to Malachi Nelson on coming back and being at QB2.
I mean, well, for a number of reasons. I mean, I don't know if that's even possible, really, just given the narrative. Matt, I mean, you wrote about this. I'll let you go a little further into it. I don't know if it aligns with what Malachi wants to do. It just seems like next year's gonna be Miller time, and then it just heir apparent's gonna be Juju Lewis. Is he to want to come back in to a situation where he's gonna be fighting an uphill battle, Matt?
Well, you know, and if Malachi Nelson wants to be QB1 at a program in 2024, then he should stay in the portal very clearly. But if he felt that he was going to be boxed out by Will Howard, that would make him QB3. Howard 1, Miller Moss 2. If Miller Moss didn't transfer out, so Malachi Nelson could have seen himself as third. But maybe Malachi Nelson saw how much Miller Moss was evolving. So, I don't know for a fact why Malachi Nelson transferred out. But, I mean, whether it was because he saw that Miller Moss was a lot more advanced, or Lincoln Riley was much more obviously complimentary of Miller Moss compared to Malachi Nelson. It's not as though Riley was negative about Nelson. Riley was saying he got injured. The progress was slow. He didn't trash Malachi Nelson, but he did talk about Miller Moss in more glowing terms. But I don't know whether Malachi's transfer out was more a Miller Moss thing or a Will Howard portal thing. But if we presume that it was more of a Will Howard portal thing, again, I don't know. But if that is the case, well, that would seem to be out of play now, and Malachi Nelson could withdraw from the portal. And we see guys withdraw from the portal all the time. I'm not predicting that Malachi Nelson's going to withdraw from the portal, but he could. And if he did, that would really simplify USC's situation going into 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do like the fact you brought up Jalen Smith, right? 12 solo tackles all over the place. He's been bouncing nickel, but they moved him over to safety, right? It just seems like there are a lot of little adjustments that were made in this game. A lot of little things just to put people ready to go. Fagans, like you said, also played very. It just seems like when Fagans gets into the game, he does make things happen. A solid player, very athletic. Would like to definitely see more of him. And they figured out that secondary, Matt. It just seemed like just overall that unit gelled, playing a little more zone. They weren't stuck out on the corners, weren't stuck out on islands. Guys weren't being asked to think all these different things. They really seemed like they lined up and they knew what their job was. For the most part, they were able to, there were no busted plays. That people had their assignments. It looked very clean on the back end. So, overall, I mean, how could you not be excited and happy with what Taylor Mays brought to the ball game as well? Yeah, I really hope they find some way to hang on to him. I think he's absolutely a special coach, and hopefully we can keep him. What else? You got anything else for us, Leon?
Yeah, one more thing. I agree with you, Tim. We need to spend that money on the interior defensive line. We look really, really good in the secondary. Once Davis comes back off an injury next year, I think the linebacker situation will play itself out, even with the guys we're bringing in through the portal. Let's spend some money on those 4 or 5 humongous guys in the portal right now, 300-plus pounders from Houston, from Michigan State, from Florida, from North Dakota State. Let's get some of those guys in, give them some NIL, and solidify that defensive line, get Barrett some help. And I think we're going to be really set up for a tremendous opening season in Big Ten.
Leon,
yeah, Matt.
Great point. Leon, what you just said, so important on a lot of levels. Let me connect some dots here for everyone who's watching here at the Voice of College Football. Miller Moss playing well and, obviously not going into the portal. He's going to be a Trojan in 2024. So that saves USC a portal acquisition and NIL money. Mekhi Lemon playing well, that saves USC positional uncertainty. Like, we now know that Mekhi Lemon belongs as a wide receiver on this team instead of on defense. So that resolves a roster position. And then the other receivers playing well. Jacoby Lane, Deuce Robinson, performing the way they did. Like, all of those performances I just mentioned, they solidified roster spots and therefore reduced the need for USC to go into the portal at those positions. Or at least if USC is going to go into the portal, it doesn't need the higher end acquisition in the portal. So that all flows into your point of, we don't need a QB1 in the portal. We don't need like a Jordan Addison in the portal, not with what we saw from this young wide receiver group. Maybe a backup wide receiver or like an extra slot guy, but we don't need an elite flanker on the edges. So with those positional needs solved, that ostensibly should free up the NIL money to go all in. Put all your chips in the middle of the poker table on offensive and defensive line. That should free up and clarify USC's situation in terms of NIL resources. So that's a very important point. Definitely wanted to include that in the show tonight here at the Voice of College Football. So thank you, Leon.
Yeah, and part of that fix was Jarrett Kingston. He correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but he's done. Like, he's out of eligibility, I believe. Jarrett Kingston. I'm not sure, but that's why I said I want to tackle. So we need one more tackle. So I think again, Elijah Page has shown us everything we need to know, right? Talele, Banuelos, Noah, Raymond. When those guys get healthy, Raymond's another tackle. I think he's got that tackle frame. He'll be fine coming along next year. We got some great freshmen coming in, but I'm not sure if anyone's really going to be up to the task of starting right away. But that allows us. You bump. You said you had Pregnon, and then you have Monheim. You bump Monheim inside the guard, which looked great. I mean, that's his natural position, somewhere inside there. I can't wait. But I think we need to get like a true seasoned tackle. Like Bobby Haskins, like you always talked about. Last year, which really solidified that line. We had a good line, but Bobby Haskins comes in for Virginia and really solidifies that line. I think we need that guy. And then, we need that interior defensive lineman, like a tackle, right? Like a 0 technique or a 3 technique, just some guys nasty. Because think about it. I'll throw you some names, ready? Like Sean Cody, Cedric Ellis, Leonard Williams, Mike Patterson, Stevie T, right? Cookie Monster, Antoine Woods, right? These are the guys. Remember, we had good defenses. We had that big, nasty space eater in the middle that's going to demand a double team, or let's say everyone get live from that side. It's going to just shove that pocket right back at that quarterback and let the guys eat. That's what we need. You watched it the other night in the Holiday Bowl. You saw the way where they're just gashing us right up the middle. We got to stop asking smaller guys to play that middle position, especially when we get into the Big Ten. It's going to be horrific if we cannot get a couple of 300-pounders, and those guys get banged up during the year. We need a couple of those guys because although they might be out there, we need guys out there at least 85, 90% healthy. We don't want guys on a mash unit out there in the middle. That would be devastating. Great, all very, very great points, Leon.
Hey, Tim, real quick. don't we also on the offensive line? Don't we have the guy that got injured early in the season? Was it Quinones or somebody?
Yeah,
he's coming back next year.
That's true. Gino's coming back. Yeah, that's right. So that could. I'm sure. I mean, he's going to need a medical red shirt. But I'm sure I would assume he's going to get it. So yeah, that would add one more depth piece to the line. So yeah, for sure, great point. But you can never have too many offensive linemen because it's just it's part of being in the trenches. You get banged up, get rolled up on. So
yes,
yeah,
sir.
Agreed.
Yes, sir. All right, well, that's all I have, fellas, man. Appreciate you guys. Listen to you all the time, and fight on.
Right on.
Happy
Calls
New
like that
Year,
make our
Leon.
job a lot easier, Leon. Have a great New Year.
You too. Happy New Year, fellas.
Happy New Year. All right, that opens the phone line. We got a couple calls coming in. Right off the bat. Good evening, caller. Thank you for joining us. You got Matt and Tim. What's on your mind? Oh, sorry. What's first? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm Howie. I'm actually calling from Austin, Texas.
You say Howie? You need to turn on. I'll give you a second. Turn off your volume in the background. Turn off your. Is it your phone or your?
Oh yeah,
TV?
I turned it. I did turn off the speaker.
Okay. I'm sorry. I missed your name. Is it Howie from Texas? Is that right?
Howie.
Wait, what's on your mind?
Let me just turn it down. I apologize.
All right.
Okay. Sorry. Let me just. Is that better?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hold on.
Yeah. Go ahead. So what's on your mind?
I just want to point out. I think I feel pretty vindicated as a U.S. Am I on?
Yeah, we got you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to point out that
Hey,
I
Howie.
feel vindicated as a USC fan.
Howie, hang on a second. I think you still have something, a speaker or TV or something in the background. I think it's messing you up. I'll give you a second. We'll come back to you in 1 second. Just go figure that out. Don't worry, we're not dropping you. Go figure that out and come right back to us. I'll give you a minute. So your thoughts on offensive line, Matt? We kind of need to give you a chance to bounce over to you.
So Elijah Page, part of the new bunch that you were high on, like he delivered the goods. So that's very, very encouraging for USC.
Yeah. Howie, we still got you on that background.
Howie, turn off whatever's on in your room.
I shut it off.
Turn off whatever's on in your room.
Yeah, I shut it off. I had it on speaker.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Howie. So what's up?
What's up?
I did. I shut it off. I shut off the speaker and everything.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Howie. Give us what you got.
Okay. Well, I just want to point out as a USC fan, I felt the fan base was a little divided because we were so anti-Grinch. And I did feel like, for example, and I don't mean this in a mean way with Tim, but I felt like he kind of told fans like he was tired of the whining. But the D was so bad, and it just felt good when we watched Louisville when the D actually played well. And I just want to know your guys' thoughts about this new cultural change as far as the defense goes.
All right, Howie, my points about whining was in the offseason. My points about whining was like very early in the season. Really quickly through the season, when I saw that the new pieces weren't working, I was very clear that he was not the guy and we need to move a different direction. So we had people like, great. If you want to be those guys say, hey, I knew from the very beginning. That's great. And everyone knew there were problems. Everyone was hoping they'd get sorted out. And reason why I used the word whining is because he was the coach for the year. So we were stuck with him. It just got a bit redundant, like an echo chamber to keep hearing every show turned into fire Alex Grinch. I said, can we talk about the other things within the program? So, yeah, really great. Let's talk about something that's not September. Let's talk about December. What else you got for us?
Actually, no. I think that's great. I just basically kind of wanted to know what was the changes that were made where we saw this defense. They played 70 snaps and they only held Louisville to 28 points. This is the first time I actually felt like the defense played.
Yeah, Howie, there were big personnel changes. Like one of the big problems here, I think if you heard earlier when you talked about when we had Gary in there. He said, hey, the locker room changed. Well, you know why maybe the locker room changed? Because some of the guys that probably deserve some playing time, I don't know. I'm just speculating because Gary didn't share with me why, what the guys just felt like they had been just, relieved. But a big part of that might be the fact that some of the guys that were working really hard that probably should have been out there were out there. And some of the guys that maybe were getting a lot of reps that probably maybe didn't deserve those reps were no longer getting those reps. And we saw some better tackling and some better play. That's all speculation on my part. I have no idea. I am not an insider. I'm not in the locker room. I don't know what's going on. But also, I got hats off to, Odom has gotten a lot of crap for the linebacking play, but he came in with Nua. He didn't have to do it. He hung around and he put together a great game plan. And it was a great game plan against Louisville. You're talking about, Jeff Brom, it's not chopped liver here. This is an offense that's really good. And they brought a great game plan. The kids were jacked up. They want to be out there. They're playing for each other. They're playing for Miller. And a lot of the guys that were not getting a lot of playing time did play. Guys that got a lot of playing time moved. For instance, we talked about Jalen, who was the defensive player of the game. He moved primarily to safety from nickel. So I mean, a lot of things changed, and sometimes it changed, and the personnel changes, and the game plan. All of it seemed like it worked and came together. Matt, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. So, when you have a side of the ball, when you have a defense that's just getting, its face bashed in week after week after week, morale's not going to be very good. We just saw it week after week in the back end of the season, one bad performance after another. Cal, Washington, Oregon, UCLA. I mean, week after week, when the morale is so bad and when the results are so bad, how are you going to get a team that's going to play with energy, with confidence, with sharpness? And that was Alex Grinch. That was definitely the problem. But let's not forget, Dante Williams out, Taylor Mays getting a larger role. Like, we can see just how much that meant for the secondary. And I think, Tim was kind of beaten down during the season by the Alex Grinch drum being banged every week. And hey, I was one of the drummers, so I'm partly guilty here. But it was the unavoidable theme. You couldn't really escape it, right? It was just it was there. It was looming over all of us at USC. And so, everyone knew that Alex Grinch was bad news. But I think one of the subtle points to come out of the Holiday Bowl is I don't think any of us, I don't think even Grinch's fiercest critics realized just how negative his influence was. Because, the obvious points were, scheme, things being too complicated. That's something that Tim has been very consistent in pointing out, that guys weren't clear about their assignments. It wasn't just read, react. The game wasn't made simple. Guys were confused about their roles. That's something that Tim has been excellent in pointing out on a very consistent basis under Alex Grinch. And the locker room talk, that was kind of part of it. But really, the other thing was, which guys are playing. And I think the lightning rod here has been Tackett Curtis. And Tackett Curtis was obviously not part of the Holiday Bowl. But I want to clarify something that I said last week on our Collins show. Don't blame the players here. Don't blame Tackett Curtis and Domani Jackson, and view them as bad apples.
Right.
They got caught up in this bad locker room, which came from Alex Grinch making bad decisions about playing whom for how many snaps and where. That's a coach's job, and that's a coach's failure by Alex Grinch, and it's also a technique-based coaching failure by Dante Williams. Blame Grinch and Dante Williams. Do not hold Tackett Curtis and Domani Jackson responsible for the things that went south with this USC defense. These guys, are young players, and they were not served well by the coaching staff. And so, we all know Alex Grinch was horrible. I think we might have actually underestimated just how much he was holding the program back, and now he's gone.
And it goes beyond X's and O's, right? Now, Howie, thank you for calling in, because I now I'm kind of catching up the chat, and we get this guy all the time. Can you specifically tell me, though? I am just curious. How have I been an apologist for him? That's a very strong word. Almost like I've been defending Alex Grinch. Could you give me a specific example that's not from the off season where when the wheels started falling off of the bandwagon that I was hanging on saying, no, guys, hold on. Grinch has got this. Could you give me an example of how I was an apologist?
I kind of use the broad term. So
that's a very strong word.
I just, when I would turn you guys on, it just seemed that you were always in defense of him when there was certain things that I felt were indefensible.
Do you have an example, please? Because I'm really racking my own brain to think, when was I going, you know what, this scheme looks good. Hey, I love the way the guys aren't lined up. They're all like waving each other over to get in position, blown assignments. We can't stop. We can't set the edge. The guys are getting blown up the middle. Can you give me an example where I was saying, hey, look, this looks good, guys. Wait a minute. Let's think about this for a while. Do you have a because really it's a pet peeve of mine, Howie. It's a pet peeve of mine when people kind of cherry pick and then we're not paying attention to the chat and make comments like that. Because I'm just curious. Do you have one concrete example of saying, hey, listen, give this guy some more, I know we just lost to Notre Dame. The doors got blown off us, but give this guy a little more time because, blah, blah, blah. Because that's the closest I was at the Notre Dame game and say, hey, defense looked pretty good. That's the only example I could think of the entire season, literally, where I'm like, hey, man, I like the way this defense looks. Do you have an example for me?
I can't.
All right, so do me a favor.
Example. I think.
Do me a favor. Yeah. Don't throw those words around. Then let's before you want to make a comment about somebody, make a back it up with something, because I gotta be honest, it is fairly annoying.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. All I'm just saying is that I felt that you were telling fans to not whine about what was happening with the defense, and that's just really it. That's all I meant to say. But you're right. I won't use that word. I learned that now. So, other than that, I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Hey, listen. By the way, also Howie, I'm kind of holding back my laughter too. I'm just trying to bust your balls a little bit. Look, you're not the only guy to do it. If you come, Matt knows. Listen, I can't keep a straight face too long. I'm just giving you a hard time. If you come up here and you open your mouth up, you're gonna get some criticism. So it's fair enough. Sorry, I'm just messing with you. Honestly, I'm not really that serious right now.
No. I gotta be able to dish. If I'm gonna dish it out, I should receive it too. So you're right.
All right, man. Hey, Howie, great call. Anything else for us?
That's it. Keep doing a good work, and I will join you guys. All right.
Awesome. Hey, Howie, you're a good sport. Appreciate you calling in. Again, I was a bit harsh. I should have laughed a little earlier. Take care, Howie. Have a happy New Year.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Right. Matt, I feel bad. I took that a little too far.
All right.
So you guys,
this is what happens. Hey, when USC wins, the mood's a little lighter.
Right?
This is good.
It does get out there. And then earlier we had USCJ in the chat a little bit earlier, guys. If you're living in Iraq, you don't know who he is. USCJ has a great channel. If you want like up to the minute updates of what's going on, make sure you're checking out USCJ channel. I actually have a link in the description of the video. Don't go there now. After the show, go check out his stuff. Hello, caller. Thanks for calling in. You're on with Matt and Tim. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, I should call you.
This is Matt. I'm Matt from Riverside. How you doing?
I'm great, Matt from Riverside. Hold on one second, Matt. I am derelict. I'm falling way behind here. So we have the super chat, Blackie Chan Gaming. Thank you so much, Fight On Trojan fan. He's in a good mood. Also, you guys, another great channel I can tell you guys about. That's the Light the Torch podcast. Check them out again after our show, please. But they are great. They get together and they have a roundtable discussion about Trojan football. Make sure you're checking them out. Then we have Danny, who is a new member. Thank you, Danny, for your membership. But also reminding us that you need backups for every position. Absolutely true, especially when you're going to a physical conference like the Big Ten. Like you have the NFL. I don't follow the NFL as much, but you used to have like the Northwest, or essentially the NFC. Used to have the black and blue, right? Just all it is. It's just beating the crap out of each other. And up there in the Midwest, it's big guys thumping and bumping. And if you don't have those backups, and like Matt said, quarterback, but also everywhere, like I said, you need some backup defensive tackles because they're going to get banged up. So great point, Danny. Thank you so much for your super chat. Another one, only natties at USC Howie. Culture change on D showed out. Suddenly everyone could tackle. No more. Oh, we already got this one. Sorry. Thank you, Howie, for being a good sport. And then Howie, new member. Howie, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining the family. We could have some more fun with the conversation later on. So sorry, caller.
Matt from Riverside, what's on your mind?
Matt, hit it up.
Yes. Hey, how you doing? You know, I just a observation I wanted to make real quick. I'm a lifelong Trojan fan. I'm about 60. I've never seen a so-called meaningless football game that had so much meaning. I attended 4 games this season, and you know we're all excited. We're waiting for the big season. And by the end of the year, I was so disgusted with this team. And in fact, I was at the UCLA game, and I'm not joking. I'm there with my wife, and it was halftime. And at halftime, I almost left the game. I stayed till the 4th quarter because even my wife, she's going, this team has completely given up, you know. And I was upset with the coaching. I was upset with the players. I was even upset with the fans because even at the UCLA game, again, usually everybody's fired up, and even the fans were quiet and kind of down. I'd never been to a SC UCLA game that was like that. There was just no energy there. Normally, I would go to a SC Bowl game if it's somewhere local I could go to. So normally, I would have been at the Holiday Bowl. But I didn't go to the Holiday Bowl because I was so disgusted with the team and so sure that they were going to lose. In fact, I really thought they'd get blown out, especially after you're hearing 20 players are not going to be playing. I'm like, oh, this is a disaster. But I did watch it. And I have to tell you something. I was astounded at what I saw. And the excitement I even felt here at my house watching with a couple of friends, we were so excited and so jubilant and happy. And I've never even had this happen before, gentlemen. When the game ended and we won, for the first time in my life, I literally had tears in my eyes, tears of joy, seeing the players so happy, seeing Lincoln Riley so happy, seeing that it really meant something to them, that these kids, to the coaches, to everybody. And suddenly perceptions changed. Where I felt like, oh my God, it's going to take a couple of years for us to get this program turned around. Suddenly I really believe, no, we might be able to get this turned around next season, have a decent team. And suddenly I actually was always backing up Lincoln Riley, even this season for most of the season. But by the UCLA game, I felt like he'd lost a team, he'd lost the players, and that's a bad sign for a coach. But suddenly I'm looking and I was reminded, no, he really is a great coach because he's the guy who set this game plan for Miller Moss. He's the guy who put him in position to have this unbelievable life game, 6 touchdowns. Who put that together? Lincoln Riley. And it reminds us, no, he is a great coach. And you see him now making the moves. And so it's amazing that UCLA game, I feel it was a guy, get rid of him. It's a disaster program. And one game, you suddenly realize how things can change. And that is the beauty of sports. That we could be so upset at our team, we're disgusted, and suddenly we're overjoyed when you see the players really playing together and loving each other and doing it for the right reason. And it was a very eye-opener. This game reminded me, this is why I love sports so much. So I just wanted to say that.
No, I mean, a great observation. I don't know how you could not get emotional watching. Again, knowing the backstory, for me, knowing the backstory of everything that Miller's gone through. Everyone knows those people in your lives, or maybe you've been in your life where you just had to work for something and you're just getting passed over, and you keep your nose down and you work your ass off. Like you tell all parents, tell your kids, just keep your head down, work hard. And when your moment's there, you shine, right? And to see him have his moment and shine is great. Then you move over to Utah about the coaching with Lincoln Riley. Everyone says like he was like born on third base, and and he had this Oklahoma program was purring handed to him, and he had no problems. But remember, when he came in as OC, man, there were some major issues. They just come off a 5-loss season, and some of the luster was coming off.
Disaster,
right? And he comes in, and what does he do? He revamps that offense, breathes some fire into it, and Bob Stoops got a good defense, and they just kind of were going for a little while, and then that defense under his brother Mike Stoops kind of nosedived, and we saw what happened also with Grinch. But you go to this season, and he actually had some adversity. And he said that he did talk about how this game meant a lot. Of all the games, this is one of the ones he enjoyed the most because he knew what this season was. He knows how critical people were of him. And coaching is very dynamic. Yes, he has to manage so many moving pieces. and he's growing. And that's all you can ask for in our coach, is the fact that he saw there were problems. He's been very clear so far in the messaging about defense. He said everything about this team now is going to be focused on an elite defense. Everything he's shown us so far, I don't know if you agree with this, Matt, but it looks like he's doing that exactly, is all about defense and moving forward. So, yeah, it was I myself, I was just sitting here in the beginning of the game going, it was a weird roller coaster, right? Don't lie to me, everyone out there. We went 3 and out. When we went 3 and out, and then all of a sudden we have them run the ball right down and throw the ball and missing assignments, everything. You're like, oh shoot, here we go. Here we go. But then boom.
That's how I felt.
USC,
bam, they came to life.
They had that missed field goal. Okay. And then they rattle off, 6 out of 7 touchdowns in a row. And the one touchdown, the one was not a scoring opportunity, I think, was the interception at the goal line. USC had an opportunity to score on 8 straight drives. And this isn't against chopped liver. This is a good Louisville defense, which was was the best red zone defense in the country going into that game. And USC had a chance to score. That we got to talk about kicking in a minute as well, because there've been a couple chip shots are getting missed. But, to score 8 straight times against that defense. And that is, I'm not taking anything away from the players. That's also a big part, our coach, which is Lincoln Riley.
He put the game plan together. Just one last thing I loved about Miller Moss. He's no Caleb Williams, but when he got the ball and he was under pressure, those couple times he just threw the ball away real quick. He knew he was under pressure. He saw, bam, got rid of it. And I remember seeing it. I was like, oh my God, that's a quarterback. He showed maturity in his game. I just wasn't expecting. So many little things he did in the game you just weren't expecting. And again, just one last thing. It just shows you the importance of playing patient and playing and learning the system and being prepared. And we see it in basketball, football, all sports. You see all these transfer portal guys that want to come running in and play in a year. And it's disastrous to sport. You've got to have these guys who stick in the system and play it. And thank goodness we have Miller Moss to remind us and all the players, look what happens when you're patient and you learn.
Yeah. No, I agree. And Matt, see, this is why I want this show, because again, you guys, I could listen to you guys talk for hours. Absolutely. I feel that this team was at a crossroad, right? You have that much turmoil. It can go just like, oh God, I wish I watched so many different podcasts and stuff. But he could have wilted, Miller could have wilted at the goal line. Yes. You're about to go up.
I got nervous when that happened.
Yeah. You're about to go up 21 points, right? Third quarter, I think ish. What was that? And get a commanding lead. And you throw a pick at the goal line and they come right down to score. Now it's a 7-point game. You could have wilted, but what does he do? He brings them down. They score a touchdown. That was a moment. Lincoln Riley, he's having all kinds of issues. He's for the first time, he's really embattled. I mean, he's had some, whiners in Oklahoma, but he's having major things are kind of crashing in. Everyone's saying, his buddy doesn't care. He can't figure out the defense. He could have wilted. He put together his staff. He put together a great offensive game plan. They went down and they won. So again, yes, these are the kind of things that Trojans, we don't just say fight on. If you're a true Trojan, you don't just throw that word out. Yeah. You truly mean something when you say that. And we've seen a lot of that this week.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anything else, Matt? Great call.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, just like I'm ended. Just like I said, this meaningless game turned out to have so much meaning. It was a very special game. And thank you very much, gentlemen.
Well put, Matt. Excellent job. Yeah. Whew, great call. I don't know if we have a call right now, actually, though. Oh, we do have a call. We have a very special call coming in. My VIP, Dad, how you doing?
Hi, Tim. How you doing? How you doing, Matt?
Doing well.
That's
Happy New Year.
Okay. Okay. Happy New Year, too. Hey, guys. I'm happy. You're happy. Things are going the right direction. I will say we're finally on the McKay Trail. They're finally on the McKay Trail. We've got somebody in charge of this ball game that knows how to put a team together and put a staff together. And I think things are going right. Comment, though, on this. John Robinson, his second time around, came back to SC. And we can talk about Robinson for a whole program, and I won't. But he said the thing that really disturbed him when he got there was the lack of depth, the line in particular, across the team. And he was really worried from the start. And he's proven right. Unfortunately, it didn't end well with him the second time around. But we're changing things now, and things are going in the right direction. Marv Gu said to somebody at a Trojan Club meeting in Orange County years ago, they were complaining about recruiting, and they complained about losing a top running back out of the Valley. And Marv just looked up and said, "We don't beg anybody to come to USC." That's the point we have to get to. When people want to go here again, and nothing will stop us. So I just think it's a great move. We had a great time. We'll have many more happy times in the future. So God bless. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Dad. Fight on. Yeah, that's a really great point. And it's kind of what Riley walked into, right? We had a lot of star talent on the outside and skill players, but there was not that depth at line. We had a great offensive line that he inherited, but there was really not much behind it. So there's this big gap in the recruiting, you know, and like you said, you want to bring along, develop those lines. And there had a great group of 5th and 6th year guys that were there, but there was nothing behind them. And so now slowly over 2 classes, they're beginning to build those offensive lines, get those lines together. I think through NIL, hopefully we're going to be able to get some of the depth there in the middle. They tried a couple of times, and I think they will continue to try to go to the portal, but we do need to start landing some of these big guys in high school and develop them in our programs. Not necessarily as important on defensive line as an offensive line, but still we definitely need to do that, like you said. And also I remember, Dad, you telling me when you had JR2 came back, that there was also an issue with his coaching staff. Did not quite have the star power. I mean, look at the John Robinson coaching staff from when he was there in the 70s. All those guys went on to Norv Turner and even Hackett, really. These guys all went on to be head coaches in the NFL and all over the place. And when he came back,
he left. Yeah, McKay left a lot of material behind that first time.
Mm-hmm.
Second time, he was having former players and so on be coaches for him. It didn't work out. But I want to get on Robinson and talk about the negative things. But just the fact is, he saw something initially, lack of depth, get the depth. And that's true. You just have to have strength because people get hurt quickly in a line.
Yeah.
And if we just have a great line, suddenly one or two get hurt.
I just want to say, Mr. Prangley, before you hang up, I want to say something. You and your son need to do like a podcast or a special off-season series. The Prangley Trojan Pride, something like that. We need to get some Prangley generational stories about USC in the off-season. Those would be great stories to tell.
Well, I appreciate the comment. Yeah, that's true. But good job, guys. Keep going. Be positive from now on.
We will. Hey, I'm usually the bad cop. I have no bad cop material tonight. It's all positive after a game like that.
Yeah. How can we be negative after that, Dad? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think my dad, Matt, don't do that to my dad. My dad's such a nice guy. You don't want to make my dad do a long program with me. He'd probably pull his hair out.
But Tim, there are things going on.
I used to be a radio announcer.
What's that, Dad?
Tim knows this, but I used to be a radio announcer, but I was not a sportscaster.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we'll see you later.
All right, love you, Dad. Thanks for calling in.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, before we take our next call, just want to. This is another topic we should at least devote a few minutes to, and that is, portal activity was fairly slow for USC in terms of incoming guys. Now, Danton Lynn got 4 guys. You got the Arnold brothers from Oregon State, and he got 2 of his guys from UCLA in the portal. But, there hasn't been splash acquisitions of elite, offensive and defensive tackles. Will this game, what we saw, people, recruits and transfer portal prospects across the country, they went into the Holiday Bowl thinking USC's soft, doesn't have a winning culture, this thing's not going in the right direction. Will this game wind up changing the minds of significant linemen, especially on defense in the portal? Will this game change some minds in terms of prospects considering USC? And could this game be a catapult for USC in terms of player acquisition? Because you did not have a lot of momentum in the portal going into this game, but maybe on the back end. Could this game be a turnaround moment for USC on that front?
Yeah, I talked about, I think I said a tweet out, the fact that it's just so refreshing to go into the offseason with some positive momentum that we did not have the last couple of years. Last couple of years, you know, you had that horrible 2021 season. Although we had that great 2022 season, it kind of ended with a flop at the end, which was a rough ending of the year. I mean, how crazy how just, you know, one kickoff return can change a whole season is how the postseason went after that, you know, the debacle in the Cotton Bowl. But to leave this right now, to leave this game and have that positive momentum coming out of the Holiday Bowl is definitely something I agree with you, Matt. Hopefully they can use that. The new hires on the defense, right? And just the positive momentum we have going forward with now we have a clear leader in Miller and Moss. There's a lot of positivity going in. I think you nailed it. That's a great point. Caller, thank you for being so patient. What's your name and where are you calling from? Call, you there?
I'm Eric. I'm calling from Irving, Texas. How you doing?
Eric, nice to hear from you. How you doing?
All right. Hey, a couple of things I wanted to say, man. First of all, I want to apologize to the guys on the message board because I was watching the Holiday Bowl and that very first drive that Louisville had, you know, when we missed tackles and everything and kind of let these guys, you know, go right up the seam against us. I thought it was going to be the same old thing. I'm guilty just like all the other guys who are like, oh, hell, I'm not going to this game. Yeah, I'm not going to this game, man. We're going to get murdered. We got 20 guys that are not playing and all that. So I put out a post that said, oh, man, same crap, you know, as before. But, you know, these guys came back in and they got it together. Then yesterday I spoke with a father of one of our defensive players, and he said, man, I got to tell you, Taylor Mays made all the difference in the world. He said that Taylor Mays taught these guys more about tackling and hitting in 2 weeks than they had learned all season. And this is a father who said that this is what his son, you know, on defense told him. He said, in 2 weeks, he said, this guy taught him stuff that they had never seen the entire damn season, you know. And so the other thing that I wanted to say about, you know, that UCLA game, man, that thing hurt my feelings for 3 quarters. Then all of a sudden, I stopped being, you know, so hurt about it. Of course, I wanted us to beat UCLA, but I realized, man, in this era of the transfer portal, that rivalry doesn't mean what it meant when I was a kid. I'm an old school guy. I mean, when I was a kid, that was brother playing against brother. There was cousins against cousins, neighbors against neighbors, guys that you played against and with, you know, from Pop Warner all the way up. And this year, you know, this era of the transfer portal, these guys don't know each other. With all the guys that we got transferred in, especially the Oklahoma guys and et cetera, UCLA game was just another game to them. So we got to go back to where we're recruiting California and the guys that we grew up with, and the guys that grew up playing against each other. And then when we get in there knocking heads with UCLA, it's going to mean something again. I've never, ever seen us play so poorly and just absolutely quit like it didn't matter at all. Like bragging rights didn't mean anything in Los Angeles anymore because half of these guys are leaving LA, going wherever the hell they're going back, you know, when the season's over. You know, it's guys like us that used to have to stay around and eat it the entire year. So those are the things that I wanted to say, guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Wow. Another great call. You know, one time, Eric, when I was on the campus, and I bumped into Taylor Mays, and this conversation was going on, and I said, yeah, he ran a 4.340, but we're talking about something. He goes, deadpan, didn't, no emotions. He goes 4.2. Just like that. I mean, they kind of, you know, it's, and if you want to learn about hitting, I think Taylor Mays is the guy that you really want teaching your kids how to lay a wall up, because I've seen him on one play take out, you know, one opponent and 2 of our own players at the same time, just coming up and just selling out and making plays. And talk about discipline. I mean, that guy showed he had that Pete Carroll, that compete attitude and just all business and just a physical freak. You could see the difference. And I said earlier, we got to find a way to keep this guy on the staff wherever it is, hopefully at a coaching position, but he absolutely could be that guy. And I think Eric nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Okay. I want to bring up this point because it's come up in the chat. You know, there's some whispers apparently that if the Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator, you know, hey, just, you know, smack down the 49ers on Monday Night Football, Ravens might be considered the favorite to win the AFC and go to Super Bowl 58. If the Ravens defensive coordinator takes an NFL head coaching job, and there's obviously going to be a few open jobs, then D'Anton Lynn could be the favorite to replace that spot in Baltimore. So let's just address that. If that happens,
Wait a minute.
USC's in good shape. USC's in good shape if that happens. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if it happens, and we see these things occasionally. Like Manny Diaz was Temple head coach for like 5 days, but then he went to Miami. Things like that happen once in a while. I'm just saying. Hold on. If that happens, USC has Doug Belk, who's been a defensive coordinator the last several years. They could either kick him up to defensive coordinator or they ask Matt Entz to do that. If they kick Doug Belk up to defensive coordinator, guess who's your new secondary coach? Taylor Mays. So like USC has pieces in place because of how much depth and quality Lincoln Riley has pulled into the defensive side of the ball. So just in case that scenario with the Ravens occurs, USC already has the pieces in place to restructure its staff in a very good, very solid way.
Matt, how soon you forget? We're a little closer to home. Are you saying we're about to get possibly Cliff Kingsbury again? Is that what you're saying? Because if you remember,
yes,
we were bringing
that would be the parallel. Yes,
that's about as close to home and about as clear as day as we were like Cliff Kingsbury, offensive coordinator, and a couple of weeks later, no, he's not. He's going to the Cardinals. So, I'm hoping. I mean, I do like your scenario, but man, I would like to see this defense with at least 1 year of D'Anton Lynn.
I do. I think we all do. But I'm just saying, if that scenario happens, USC has the bases covered. That's my main point. USC has the bases covered.
Right. Hey, listen, guys, just really quickly, that we have open phone lines right now. I guess I scared people off with that phone call earlier when I gave Howie a hard time. But you guys, we have phone calls open. We're here to celebrate. We're here for any kind of questions you might have, any kind of comments you may have. I really am more than surprised with the offensive line play, Matt. Really, the way just a couple of shuffles, because there's a lot of shuffling going on early this season. Obviously, players develop. But when they moved Page over to left tackle, they kicked Kingston over to. By the way, so a lot of things went wrong in that UCLA game. Kingston did not play in that game, by the way. We saw how bad the line was up against that pass rush. And then Kingston to right tackle. That allows Monheim, who is not, his days in the future when he goes to the NFL is going to be inside. And if you want to keep Monheim, you want to get him inside, give him some good film so he can show those NFL scouts, hey, this is what I look like in the interior offensive line. That's a selling point for him to stay. It's not clear if he's going to stay or not. So we really need his return. Matt, what are your thoughts on one? It's a double-edged sword. It's great that they figure it out. I have been the one who's been the apologist. So there you go, Howie. I have been an apologist for Henson, dyed in the wool. But it's a double-edged sword in the fact that he figured it out. But what took so damn long? That's something that I was talking to Gabe on Trojan Blade. He's like, man, but why was it? Matter of fact, on his show, he tweeted out, I think it's back in October, to give Page, because we've talked about those young offensive linemen. He said, hey, let's just give him a shot at left tackle and make some moves. And man, what took so long, Matt?
Great question. And I mean, like, we were also asking this with the receivers, like, where was that all season long? Like, there were a lot of where was this the past 2 months reactions to various position groups at USC, and both offensive line and wide receiver were part of that. So yes, big positive night for Josh Henson. Very big positive night for Josh Henson. Also, Tim, when I'm wrong, or at least if I'm not hitting the mark, I got to man up and own it. Good night for Benny Wiley. Like, you saw USC playing with energy and toughness. It's definitely a positive check mark for Benny Wiley. So, hey, folks, like, I can admit when I'm wrong. Now, I'm not going to say like, oh, this means that everything's good and fine. No, not necessarily. But I'm just saying, like, this game, powerful validation of both Josh Henson and Benny Wiley. But here's the cautionary note. So, like, I'm admitting I'm wrong, at least based on this game. So like, I'm giving everybody that, but I would caution everyone on this point. This was a pass-heavy game plan. This was a pass-heavy mix from Lincoln Riley. And of course, there was a very good reason for that, is because this was Miller Moss's audition, either to be the QB1 at USC or the QB1 for another school in the transfer portal. This needed to be a game where Miller Moss collected a lot of game tape. He collected a lot of different plays, a lot of different looks, a lot of different situations. Lincoln Riley owed it to Miller Moss for being so loyal to provide a pass-heavy game plan that would get, test Miller Moss in all sorts of different ways. So you saw a pass-heavy game plan. So the one thing we didn't see from the offensive line, and it's not the offensive line's fault, it's not Henson's fault, it's just this was a product of the circumstances. But we did not see the offensive line road grade and just absolutely ram the ball, student body right style, through Louisville. This was mostly with the pass, with Miller Moss piling up the yards, the touchdown throws. So that is the one cautionary note. We still need to see, heading into 2024, heading into the offseason, heading into spring ball, we still need to see this offensive line being able to just be road graders, be, just absolutely fire off the ball and lay a smackdown. And there's also another part of this, is that, run pass mix. You need to run the ball more. USC did not need to run the ball more to be good. It really just starts with everyone playing together in a complementary way, with the receivers getting open more quickly so that the quarterback has the hot read available more quickly, and the offensive line doesn't have to hold its blocks as long. And if there's a blitz, and in Louisville was sending blitzes from certain angles, but the blitzes were from longer distances, so that gave Miller Moss a little extra time to find the check down, the short throw. Like, everything was working in harmony, and we just didn't see that during the regular season. But again, big night for Josh Henson, big night for Benny Wiley, and I can admit that, and I hope that whenever I say you have some guys who aren't doing their jobs, and I think that they're on thin ice, I'd like them to prove me wrong. And so, I'm not secretly unhappy about this.
No, I know.
I'm loving this. Like USC, look, USC being great, USC being in a position to succeed in the Big Ten, that's good for the business at Trojans Wire. So no, I don't want a single soul thinking, oh, Matt's secretly hating, like he's just gnashing his teeth. No, I'm loving this. And I like guys to prove me wrong when I'm skeptical, but like for some guys that I was skeptical about, cough, cough, Dante Williams, cough, cough. Well, I was right, but that doesn't mean like I'm enjoying the downfall. What I am enjoying, though, is now that he's gone and Taylor Mays has more of a role on this team, USC's a lot better. And that's why I criticize people. That's why any respectable sports commentator criticizes people. It's not as though they want a guy to suffer in the public eye. It's they want their damn football team to be better. That's why criticism is leveled, at least for people who care. So, I don't have an agenda against Dante Williams. He just sucked, and he's gone, and USC's better as a result. So, I don't delight in Dante Williams having to leave town. I'm delighting in USC being better. So if Benny Wiley, Josh Henson, if they want to refute me every single day, every single week, yes, I welcome that, because that means USC is succeeding.
Yeah, I'm just teasing you. You balance out, the optimism, the pessimism. You balance out, but everything you do is objective. You always argue your points very well.
And you call it like you see it, and you own it when you're wrong. Period. That's how you do it in this business.
But then sometimes people feel. See, here's the thing, though. When teams are losing, like we saw a lot with Helton, and we saw, at the end of last year and into this year, people begin to think that if you have any positivity, that you're not being objective. Like somehow, positivity and objectivity cannot coexist. And that's where I really see, when I see comments like this for work, I'm not calling you out specifically, but realistically, if you're eternally pessimistic, you're not being optimistic. You're not being objective either. This idea that optimism and objective thought are mutually exclusive is just as silly as thinking that the other way around. So, we keep that in mind when we are calling out, certain things. And you had legitimate concerns about Benny Wiley. You've made your points very consistent. I just was kind of a little bit on the other side of the fence. And look, let's face it, neither one of us, the story is still being written. I do like the way he responded. I do like the way Benny said, hey, look, You want me? I'll get them bigger. No problem. That you want? We have a consistent message. I'll make them bigger for you guys. And going into the Big Ten, like he said, not the medium 10, he's going to make them bigger. And I've got a pretty sneaky suspicion they're going to be bigger, stronger, and faster next year.
Let me make one other point. I think it was last week. If it wasn't last week, it was certainly in the last 2 weeks. I mentioned the point that, if you're always saying that this guy's great or this game's great, if everything's great, if you just say that reflexively all the time, you cheapen the meaning of greatness, right? You can't call a bologna sandwich as great a meal as a filet mignon, right? You can't do that. You reserve certain words, certain adjectives, certain levels of praise for the real thing. Like a great game is Sam Darnold in the 2017 Rose Bowl against Penn State. You can't just put any old game up against that and also call it great, because then you cheapen what Sam Darnold did against Penn State in the Rose Bowl. So not everything can be great. And it's the exact same thing for awful, horrible, terrible. Not everything can be horrible. Like if 8-4 or 7-5 is well below USC's expectations, but if you say, this is the worst team I've ever seen, or this is the most gutless group of Trojans I've ever seen, hey, there was a one-win team in the late 1950s under Don Clark. Hello, did you remember the Paul Hackett years? Not everything can be this great or this awful. You always need to calibrate your assessments, and if you're always going to the extreme, then everyone's going to think, well, just that basically any game is going to be at that extreme. You have to save your extreme characterizations and assessments for the times when that's really merited. You can't just go there always, because then again, it cheapens it and no one's going to take you seriously. No one's going to give you credibility. You always have to calibrate on a scale, and it's not always going to be at the extreme end.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. And before we move on to the next caller, you guys, hey, make sure down below, there's just 220 of you guys on here right now. Please do us a favor. We're trying to get to 5,000. If you enjoyed the show and you want to make sure you see us when we do go live, go in the future, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Best way to do that is hit the subscribe button down here. And then when you're done, make sure you get notified for all of our new videos, and you'll be the ones to know. Yes, we have the Monday night show with Mark that we do for Trojan Conquest Live. We also have this show every Friday at 6, but we do go live throughout the week if we have big breaking news. If you want to be a part of that, make sure you subscribe. Caller, thank you for being patient. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm Kyle. I called about a month ago from Utah, but not the Utah fan.
Gotcha.
The other Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle, the Trojan fan from Utah.
What was that? You were breaking up.
Oh, Kyle, the Trojan fan from Utah, not Kyle, the Utah fan from Utah. I got you.
You're still breaking up.
Oh, Matt, you got me okay?
I do. Go ahead, Kyle. Give us your thoughts. We can respond to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't understand you. You're just a lot of mechanical sound.
Might be a connection. Go ahead and tell us what's on your mind.
Yeah, just make your point. We'll be able to answer it for our viewers.
I'll go ahead and call back in. I can't understand a single word that you're saying.
Okay. Yeah, just go ahead and call back. We should get a clearer connection. Thanks, Kyle. See you in a minute. All right. I think that there's no one in the queue. So this, you guys, if you want to call in, we're kind of wrap it up. This is a call-in show. If we're not getting calls, we're gonna call it a night. But let's see. So we covered the secondary. We've covered coaching. We've covered the offensive line. Oh, we haven't talked about the wide receivers. Okay, so I've been banging the drum for a guy. Everyone's been talking Zachariah Branch. Ooh, deuce. I've been predicting this. I'll say, wait till you see this guy, Jacoby Lane, because Jacoby Lane, 6'4", hands the size of houses, jumps out of the building. He's got like a Megatron catch radius. Just an amazing spectacular. We got to see a lot of him. We'll get to him in a second. We got a caller coming in. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Kyle from Utah.
Kyle, you got us this time?
Yes, you're clear now. Before you were just a lot of really funny electrical sounds. So,
well, I'm glad you got us.
I can't do this.
Yeah, what's on your mind?
Well, the one thing I was just thinking about after the game was the whole Miller Moss situation. I know you guys talked about it before, but I'm about 45 minutes late into the conversation, so I have no clue what you said about him. But I know originally he was recruited by Clay Helton in 2019. COVID year happened. He gained a year, but he was redshirted the whole time. He was sat behind Slovis, which I thought that was a big mistake because I felt he was the better quarterback. Then sat behind Caleb Williams for good reason. But personally, I still felt he was the better quarterback. Well, doesn't take away from Williams being an exceptional player that he was and did a lot of great things for this program. But he finally was able to get his chance and show his colors of what he really was. And that's who I was wanting to see and glad I did see. I was a little nervous it may not have happened. But one of the things that I've really liked about this team in the bowl game is how cohesive they were. Defense was happy. Everybody was happy. But the one knock I have on Riley on this is time management. His defense was exhausted at the end of the game. They could barely keep their feet from underneath them. And he needs to do better. Having a 36-24 differential in time is not really a good excuse to keep on going. Those defensive players need to have a little bit more rest. So he has to slow down that offense a little bit. But when you're passing,
Yeah, Kyle, let me just step in. One of the things I said a short while ago was that, Lincoln Riley needed to give Miller Moss as many pass plays and pass reps as possible because this was such a unique opportunity and an important opportunity for Miller Moss to compile game film for himself. Whether he was going to transfer out or whether he was going to be QB1 for USC in 2024, Lincoln Riley owed it to Miller Moss to give him as many different passing plays, pass situations. This was a Miller Moss focused game and game plan. So that's why it was so pass heavy. If you didn't have that particular point of urgency, I think Lincoln Riley definitely would have mixed run pass a lot more.
The other side of that, if I could jump in really quick, the other side of that is the run game just wasn't happening. I mean, as well as they were pass blocking, it did. I haven't looked at the numbers. I was in shock actually. I was just sitting back. I wasn't really analyzing the game. I wasn't looking at the box. It did look like they had pretty heavy box as well. So you don't want to just to run for run's sake. If you don't have favorable numbers, you're going to need to throw the ball. And I don't know the situation right from play to play, but how do you argue? One thing I would say to you, you're right. In general, you would like, if all things being equal, if you could run the ball, shorten the game, keep your defense off the field, etc. All those things are brilliant. And people have been saying that for ages. And that's, that's really nothing new. But you have to be able to run the ball and have some success with it. Early in the game, they were having a lot of trouble. And a lot of times you can actually loosen up that heavy box by throwing the ball like they did. And if you notice later in the game, USC was able to run. They had that really nice GT pull where they had Austin Jones go for like 33 yards and when they were down by their own 10-yard line, got them out of their own end zone. But sometimes you can't just run the ball and run the ball. I would say, did you catch the part where I said we were a missed field goal and interception from scoring 8 straight touchdowns? Well, scoring 8 straight drives in that game. I mean, the offense was clicking, and I understand your point. But do you want to get them out of rhythm just to run the ball, so we can make sure we can save some time for our defense?
No, it's not about getting out of rhythm. I think rhythm's an important thing, and if passing is what's moving the ball, use it. You use what's working. And Louisville, credit to them, they did a fantastic job stopping that run. And so I'm not upset at Riley not using the run more often. Jones didn't have much of an answer for most of the game, as you just mentioned, both you, Tim, and Matt. So I'm not discrediting or taking away from that. I'm just saying, and because he's had the same problem throughout the season, even with Caleb Williams, though. So I understand giving Moss his time, but the problem was he's run the offense to the detriment of his defense, and that needs to stop. or you're going to kill your defense no matter how good Lynn makes this defense. They're going to be gassed by the end of the season, and that might cost you a bowl game or at least a title run, because obviously that's what Riley's going for, is that expectation there, especially going into the Big Ten. Probably not, because they played 2 out-of-conference games, LSU, and then I believe Notre Dame, and then they're in Big Ten football. So they have a grueling season ahead of them next year. And so he needs to learn how to tempo his offense. And you could tempo it even with passing. But I think the problem with Louisville in this game is that Louisville couldn't stop the pass. Moss went for those short passes, and his receivers just blew up with yardage.
Yeah, I think you answered. I think you answered your own. Well, hold on. I think you answered your own problem there when you just said that. You don't have to run the ball. A short passing game, screens, little dump passes, by extension, is another form of the run game. The idea is it's not just to run the ball. It's that you're not scoring so quickly, right? You're not moving. I mean, again, you talk to any head coach and you say the words, "Oh, you're scoring too quickly." They're going to look at you with a blank stare. They're like, "We're scoring points." But I get your point about trying to shorten the game a little bit for the defense, and you can use a short passing game as an extension of your run game, because the run game wasn't there. If you take away the 35 yards that Austin Jones picked up on that one play, he had 10 plays for 25 yards. That's 2.5 yards a carry. That's not tough math. So he's getting 2.5 yards per carry. You are not on schedule if you're doing that. And then, do they score 7 touchdowns in that game the way they did? If, like I said, they try to run the ball just to run the ball for run's sake.
And I guess to be fair to Riley, though, for the season, he did give Williams a lot of freedom to call audibles, and that was to the detriment of the team as a whole. That offense committed penalties. That defense was on the field more often. And so I do put blame on Williams as well. It's not just a Riley issue. Riley wanted to develop Williams to be a quarterback who could actually read a defense and move this team forward, and it was kind of cost them a little bit in that situation. But no, I think they did a great job. I'm not upset with the game. It's just there's just things that I'm noticing, as we all do, things they could clean up and hopefully have it a little bit better by next season. But Louisville didn't have an answer for the pass game, and they just couldn't stop our receivers from gaining 15 yards, even for short passes. You can't get mad at anybody but the defense of Louisville.
Well, Kyle, you brought another good point up that made me think of something. It's not as much that Caleb was calling audibles as the fact that, you're the RPO. He has a choice of he could hand the ball off or he could pass. And that's all he's looking at, the defense in order to make that decision. And whether he makes that right call or not is a whole different discussion. But, the idea that where he started scrambling a lot. So Matt brought the point that it was getting out on schedule, and just getting out quick. We didn't see any holding penalties. You know why we didn't see holding penalties? Because we weren't asking our linemen to block for 5-6 seconds as someone's running around the backfield. This is not an indictment on the greatest quarterback that USC probably will ever have. Okay. But that does put a lot of pressure on your offensive linemen. And that's when you do all of a sudden 2nd and 10 turns into 2nd and 20 and stuff like that. So that was another big success of this offense in this game, and this offensive line was the fact that they weren't asked to do too much and hold up like that.
Well, exactly. There for under Williams, it sometimes exceeded 10 seconds, and that's a long time to ask a lineman to not do a hold.
Yeah, and let me jump in here.
It was what 2-3 seconds. He was done, and so that's what I really liked about Moss. It was out.
Yeah.
Okay, let me jump in here, because definitely Miller Moss, trusted the game plan, the system, and he got the ball out, and you didn't have some of the complications you have with Caleb Williams. But let's be very clear. Receivers got open quickly in this game. Miller Moss, was looking for his first read and going through his progressions. He was able to very quickly identify an open receiver. We did not have that during the season. That is getting a little bit underplayed in the discussion here. The offensive line holding its blocks, Caleb Williams waiting too long, maybe having too many options, too many decisions. if the receivers get open early, we don't have this problem. And we did not have this problem with Jordan Addison. We did not have this problem in 2022 with the receiving group that we had. Where were these wide receivers? Where was this kind of performance from the receivers? They dominated one-on-one matchups. They got open. If on occasion they weren't open, they were able to big boy the opposing defender, come down with the ball. We didn't see this from Mario Williams. We didn't see this from Dorian Singer. We didn't see this nearly as much as we all expected to see at the start of the season. Let's remember the story about Dorian Singer. You know, he torched USC in 2022 in that 45-37 USC win in Tucson. And Caleb Williams goes up to Lincoln Riley and says, hey, can we get him for next season? Like, Dorian Singer was making incredible catches for Arizona against USC. Where was that guy? Where was that guy all year? Jacoby Lane was making the kinds of plays that we thought Dorian Singer was going to be making all year long. So we talk about Caleb, we talk about the offensive line, and obviously, to a certain extent, those points are quite valid. And Miller Moss did certain things that we didn't see from Caleb Williams. All true. But the receivers getting open quickly, we are not talking about that nearly enough. USC receivers looked like USC receivers in this game. They did not look like USC receivers for most of the 2023 season.
Yeah,
true. And even last year, a lot of them were not open for short passes. If they was generally a little bit longer, 10 to 15 yards, and perhaps longer. So this game was really like you mentioned, Matt, really different game call for this team. It's just, wow, went for the 5-yard dump. Oh, wow, they just gained 20 yards on that. Okay, well, I'll go with that. So you're absolutely right. They went for the short passes, and that made it easier on the team as a general whole.
Yeah. So yes, a lot of what you said from the, just recap and reality back. Yes. And Matt says, and I think everyone believes it. You don't want to put your defense in a situation. USC, as far as time of possession, was among the worst in the country. You don't want to put that kind of pressure on your defense, especially when they're struggling. And you're not going to want to have those big offensive linemen in the Big Ten leaning on your defensive line for 80. Well, that's the thing. Also, remember this. One more thing though, there won't be as many plays in the Big Ten. It's just the style of ball itself slows it down. We're not playing Arizona. We're not going to play Washington. We're not going to play Oregon. The whole game is going to slow down a bit. So that's something I just thought of just now. It's not a situation like it's been in the past, but you will have some big dudes wearing you down in the run game on long drives. The total snap count might be lower, but I'll bet you those defensive linemen are going to be a lot more tired being leaned on. And then when those guys get to pin their ear back and do some run blocking, it's going to wear down the defense as much. So I guess you pick your poison, right? Anything else for us, Kyle?
No, that was pretty much it. I don't want to take all of your time. I'm sure there's other callers who want to get in here. So, but thank you for your time and for the discussion. I appreciate it.
Awesome call. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm not sure if we have another call. So really quickly, maybe we can get into the offensive, the receivers, the young receivers that we were trying to talk about. We all knew about Zachariah Branch. We all knew about Deuce Robinson. They've been heralded and they've got a fair amount of playing time during the season. But we did get to see Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane. And as soon as after we take this call, we can maybe actually with this caller, we might be able to hit on them. I think this is area code. Hi, caller. Where are you calling from? And who are you?
What's going on, boys? Fight on from New York City, man. LB Live. How you guys doing tonight?
I thought it was you. Good. How you doing, LB?
All right. How do I sound to you guys? I sound good tonight?
Loud and clear. Are we coming through clear?
Yeah, sounds fabulous. So listen, man, I didn't get a chance to call in the other day. Listen, what a fabulous game by Miller Moss. This has got to be like, this is like movie story stuff, right? I mean, SC is known for being a big time movie crew also. This is stuff you could write a movie about. I thought that, just watching the game and watching how he played, you can tell how he pretty much knows the offense inside out. I think that Lincoln felt comfortable just letting the kid just wing it. Because, yes, there was, people complaining about the run game. But if Lincoln wasn't confident in what he could do offensively, he wouldn't have opened up the playbook the way he did. He wouldn't have. And he allowed him to pretty much make reads, make checks, make those throws. It was just great to see. And believe it or not saying he's better than Caleb, but it was refreshing to see someone stay within the offense, because that was something we wanted this year. We were saying at times after certain games, like, Caleb, just make the first read. The guy's wide open, and he wouldn't do it. He would check down to somebody else, run around for 5 yards, and go for the big play. And sometimes that wasn't needed to be done. Miller did that, and look how this offense looked. So, yes, you guys made a point about the receivers getting open. I don't even think it's that. I think guys were getting open at times in games, but Caleb was overlooking a lot of receivers, man. He just was. He just did not seem – he didn't seem himself. He didn't. And I know you guys mentioned the dislocated pinky. I think that played a big part. But what I saw the other night is I saw a guy who knows this offense, is not trying to be Superman, quote unquote, or the Heisman Trophy winner. He's just going out and running the offense, and you put the weapons out there, and look how it looks. Guys, let's be honest. That was one of the better defenses in the league, like just not just the ACC, but in the nation. And we torched them like with no problem. It was like easy work. And so now, just me thinking in the future, this is going to be how it's going to look in the Big Ten. I'm telling you, this is how it's going to look in the Big Ten. They have never seen the skill guys outside of Ohio State. They have not seen the skill guys that we're going to bring into the Big Ten next year. They're not. And so this is pretty much, to me, a little glimpse into what it's going to look like. I'm extremely excited about it next year. I don't know about you guys, but I think Miller Moss has earned the right to go into spring as QB1. I don't think they should bring somebody else in. And the reason why I say that is because you got to think about camaraderie, guys. The defense played for him. The other guys played for him. All those things matter. You don't think it does? Look at that team's reaction when he had the game that he had. So to me, that leads up into other things. This is bigger than just X's and O's, man. This is a culture, right? So now we're watching this culture being built. And to me, if you bring another guy in, that's a smack in the face to Miller Moss and a smack in the face of that team. So Lincoln's got to think about that. And to me, if you do that and you give Miller a shot, I guarantee you he's going to take this and run with it, because now you see what he does with the first team offense. Not the second team, like how he looked against Stanford. He didn't have backups. He has a first team offense, the first team weapons, all those things going.
And practice reps, LV.
What say you guys?
And the practice reps. Yeah. So we should do a poll. You guys, I know Mattson, LV, I can probably get you in chat. You want to get with me this? How long? What's our pool? How many games before we start hearing, and I'm going to be pissed when I hear it, game manager, gym rat. What's the other phrase I usually have for like a gym rat, game manager, gamer, right? When in reality he's a system quarterback. You're going to hear all this crap when just to roll over the top of Miller Moss. Anybody that's going to follow Caleb and what he was able to do is going to get that. But I could just see that. How many games in before this uninitiated announcer decides to call him, a game manager? But he does. He ran that offense. You could tell he got all those reps in practice. He ran that offense exactly how it's supposed to be run. And I'm pretty sure that if you run the Lincoln Riley offense, it's pretty damn effective. And then we saw that on Wednesday. Absolutely.
LV, I just want to make one.
It was, I don't know about you guys, but I get it. I'm sorry. I get it, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to make one point, because I made this at the very beginning of the show, and we're about to hit 2 hours. So, a lot of people probably didn't catch me at the beginning of the show, because that was a long time ago now. I think USC should bring in a portal quarterback, but I was very clear in saying it should be as a backup. It should be as a QB2. Like, USC does need another credible quarterback, but it needs to be clear from Lincoln Riley, you're coming in as the backup to Miller Moss. It's not you're battling Miller Moss for QB1. But USC does need to bring in a guy, but it needs to be from someone willing to at least start with the QB2 role and then come in if needed, to come in if called upon. But Miller Moss should be QB1. So USC needs a guy, but not USC does not need a QB1 in the portal. Want to make that clear.
Hey, I want to get
absolutely. I totally agree with you guys. Also, too, if you think about it, too, guys, why not? Like, I'm also hearing, like, you know, things out there about, you know, the kid coming out of Texas A&M, Evan Stewart. Like, to me, you don't need to touch these wide receivers. We have more than enough weapons. Gary Xavier Jordan coming in, we have enough weapons. Why don't we use that money to get some defensive tackles? Why don't we use that money to get another linebacker? Why don't we get that money to get, like, another offensive lineman? There's other things that we can use it for. To me, you don't need to touch the offense. The offense is good. You don't need more of anything, because then you got to spread the ball around. Perfect example. We saw all those guys do great. There's one guy that didn't touch the ball really that much. That's a first-team All-America there, okay? And we totally forgot about that guy. He almost broke one last night, and he didn't even do much offensively. So that shows you the weapons that we have. So to me, that's where you got to focus that money. Pay attention to that, and I think this team will be just fine. Also, too, I just want to chime in, because I heard you guys mention this with the last caller. Caleb Williams checked out of a lot of big-time plays this year. There was a lot of times he was checking out. The clock was going down. He saw something different. He's reworking a play. Think how many times that got us off schedule with our offense. Now, yes, you give him the reins to do whatever, but to me, I felt that you gave him too much, and I think that he wasn't ready for that. And it showed in the offense. And so for me, running it the way it should be run, you see how Jalen Hurts ran it. You see how Baker ran it. Run it how it should be run. And this is how the offense looks. Because those are all freshman guys out there catching touchdown passes. Outside of Colin Ware-Hudson, the rest of the guys were freshmen. So imagine these kids next year with a whole spring, with a whole fall, and they're ready to go. Come on, man. I mean, this is easy, man. 1 + 1 equals 2. This is not hard.
Yeah. No,
There's an important thing. There's an important thing to say here. The Lincoln Riley offense has run by Baker Mayfield and has run by Jalen Hurts and has run by Caleb Williams. All very different things. Like the way Riley approached, let's just take Jalen Hurts in 2019 at Oklahoma. That was a very different offense from what Baker, Kyler Murray, and then in the future, Caleb did. So like Lincoln Riley it will take his larger concepts and he will, like any great coach, and he's a great coach, he will tailor his offense to the talents of the individual. So like there is a lot going in terms of making sure the offense is something uniquely fit for that guy. So I do agree with you, LV, in that like Miller Moss ran the Riley offense as well as one could possibly imagine. He didn't try to do too much by himself, and Caleb did get sucked into that temptation, trying to do a little bit too much by himself, trying to be a little bit too much of an orchestrator instead of just going with the play, going with the initial look, not trying to change up too many things and trusting his receivers a little bit more. That's all true, LV. And it's a great point, and it's well made. A lot of people in the chat can obviously agree. And I think we can all see that like USC's offense would have been better if Caleb hadn't taken certain liberties at certain times. But I just want to be clear for everyone. It's not as though there is the Lincoln Riley offense, and it was pretty much the same for all of his Oklahoma quarterbacks. Like he made Jalen Hurts a running quarterback at Oklahoma. Our Riley Files series at Trojans Wire in the summer of 2022 really went deep into this point. And what we're seeing with Jalen Hurts with the Eagles, that's inspired by the specific way in which Lincoln Riley tailored his Oklahoma offense to Jalen Hurts. Like it was a sharp break from what Riley was doing with Baker and with Kyler. So there needs to be an appreciation of how the Lincoln Riley offense has certain concepts, but he will significantly, not like light tweaks, but he will make significant adjustments to fit the talent and the skill set of the quarterbacks that he has. So I want to make that point very clear.
And before you respond, LV, because I know you're going to LV, before you respond, let me say something. I want to be very clear because I know what you guys are saying, and I know what I said, and a couple people in this chat have said. Let's be very clear, everybody. The problems on offense were not Caleb Williams. It was the breakdown on the offensive line. It was the lack of separation from the receivers. Let's just say that. I don't want it to sound like this show is saying that Caleb Williams was the reason why the offense struggled this year, et cetera, et cetera. Now, nothing could be farther from the truth. There were issues on offense that, again, there are things like the comment here, no false starts. Yeah, if he's checking out and the guys have to hold their stance for a long time, they might, got a 300-pound guy, he might false start. If he's scrambling around for 10 seconds and they're asked to block without holding and they don't know where he is and they're trying, and they reach out, it's going to happen, right? But I want to be clear for myself, and I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for both of you as well. The offensive problems we saw this year were not Caleb Williams. They were issues that we were having on the offensive line and I believe with the receiving core. Go ahead, LV.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, let's be clear. I mean, he's probably the best quarterback USC has ever had, right? So I'm not saying that. I just think that identifying, how can I say, we can identify the strengths and the positives in Miller Moss that we see without diminishing Caleb. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
That's basically what I'm doing.
Yes.
Like, That's basically what I'm doing. Like I just see the difference in the two. So that's why I brought up Baker Mayfield and Jalen Hurts. So that's why, because to Matt's point, they're running it their own way, and that's where it makes Lincoln Riley, the quarterback whisperer. See, everyone's talking about Fire Riley. This is why you don't. You see, because anybody comes in there, he knows what to make them and turn them into. And let's not act like Miller Moss is just some two-star quarterback. He was a top recruit coming into SC, okay? He's an athletic kid. He can run this offense. So he's not just a junior college transfer. No. Let's be clear and understand who he is. So with that skill set, with the knowledge that he has, and him being in this offense for 2 years, that's why I'm saying, let's see what this turns into and what this manifests into with Lincoln Riley, because this can be a very similar situation like he had with Hurts, like he had with Baker Mayfield. No one knew who Baker Mayfield was. He turned him into that. So that's what I mean. So if you give Miller the same thing that you gave those guys, because he is a top-tier quarterback that was coming out of high school, let's see what it is. And that's why I'm saying I saw a different version, of this offense that I liked. But I can say that without diminishing Caleb. We understand who Caleb is and what he did. But the way this looked Friday, the other night, it had to be refreshing to all you guys. I mean, it was like we came in from air and we were drowning all season. What we saw was so refreshing and so enlightening and so exciting for the season coming up. I'm sure you guys have to agree with that.
No, I agree with everything you just said. So yeah, absolutely. That was so nice to watch.
One of the things I said at the beginning of the show,
guys,
again, 2 hours ago. Always. One of the things I said at the beginning of the show, LV, if you didn't catch me, back 2 hours ago, was that everyone played really hard for Miller Moss. And, if Caleb Williams got the buy-in and the effort from the other 10 teammates on offense throughout the season, how different would things have been? We did not see 10 other guys rallying around their quarterback during the regular season that we saw 10 guys rallying around Miller Moss in the Holiday Bowl. And you made the point yourself. That's why Miller Moss should be QB1 going into the spring. And in my mind, it should be QB1 for the LSU game right now. It's because those 10 other guys will go to the wall for him. They will bleed and die for him. You want that. You need that. Like that as a coach, for Lincoln Riley to have that kind of buy-in now, like we don't need to wonder about that through the spring, through the summer, through August. That's there. That's there. These guys totally trust Miller Moss. And so have that kind of continuity and chemistry, boom, you have to put him in for the LSU game, in my mind. You have to at least start him as the guy we're going to ride with against LSU. in Las Vegas, and it's because the other 10 guys are going to go to the wall for him. Where was that during the regular season? That's another thing we really have to underscore in terms of why the 2023 season didn't pan out the way it did.
Yeah, thanks, LV.
Absolutely. You know, another thing I wanted to say, just one thing, because that's some of the things I wanted to call in the other night, but I just couldn't. That defense, guys, I'm telling you right now, if you guys think that DeAnton Lynn didn't have his little fingerprints on that, you guys, we're all going crazy. I'm telling you, I can see in practice him probably saying, try this drill, do this drill. Little things that he might have did in preparation. I would not be surprised if he had a little bit, I'm not saying a lot, just a little bit, because what we saw was something totally different. We never seen guys wrapping up and making tackles like that. Prophet Brown looked like the second coming of a Dory Jackson out there. I was just saying to myself, okay, this looks different, man. This guy's coming up. These guys are laying hits, wrapping up. I'm like, what are they doing in a matter of 6 weeks? I said, okay. And then they said, oh, you know, Deontay Lynn, he's just watching practice. Okay, so he's watching practice and he's not whispering something to Taylor Mays. He's not doing that. I guarantee you he is. And that's why you saw just a little glimpse of what this defense is going to look like. Before I get out of here, I wanted to drop that on. What say you guys?
I think Danton Lynn might have whispered to Taylor Mays, but Taylor Mays had the bullhorn. He had the megaphone. And I think Taylor Mays is really the guy who got through to that secondary. Because again, the secondary was the position group that made the biggest leap. Who was in charge of the secondary? Taylor Mays. 2 + 2 = 4.
And you are great point. I didn't bring up Prophet Brown earlier. He and Jacoby, he and Covington had just amazing games at corner. So yeah, there you can see the difference in tackling on the outside. We saw a lot of tackles on the outside go for 30, 40 or go to the house. And we didn't see any of that this week. So yeah, absolutely great point. Yeah, I'm sure that they leaked in and they know they're playing for their. Let me have a delay. Sorry. Go ahead, LB.
No, listen, I was just letting you guys know, listen, great show. Everybody that's watching, please hit that like, share, subscribe button for these guys. They do an amazing job. Please show your support. Hey, listen, guys, I'm out of here. You guys are doing an amazing job. Keep it up. I'll definitely be calling in soon. Fight on from the East Coast, guys. Great job. Fight
on, LV. And you guys, if you haven't already checked out his channel, make sure you're getting over there to LV Live. Especially if you're a Knick fan, he's covering the Knicks, and he also covers the Giants. So make sure you're checking him out. We're winding down towards the end of the show, but we have a couple more calls coming in. Hold on 1 second. Also, make sure you're checking out Carter Sports. I saw him earlier. Carter has some of the most entertaining videos I could ever imagine. He's always on the edge. He's always, looking for that next guy coming in through the portal. Make sure you're checking him out as well. Caller, Matt, how much time you got left? We're at 2 hours right now.
Let's just take the remaining calls we have. No new calls.
All right, then. All right, caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is C. Mose from Ohio.
I'm sorry, who's calling?
This is C. Mose from Ohio.
C. Mose, okay. Hi, how you doing, man?
Oh, great. Hey, I just want to give you guys a shout out. This is probably one of the best Conquest calls I've heard, so you guys are killing it.
Thank you.
Being in Ohio and watching these late games, all year long, I've had like PTSD on that defense. And this game was such an uplifting event, and a special call out to Jalen Smith. The guy had 12 solo tackles.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've had 12 solo tackles all year. We may have given up, 3 long runs for lack of containing this game that I saw. But other than that, no one's perfect. So I'm just thrilled for the next year, and echoing the previous callers and yourselves are saying that, hey, we have optimism for the upcoming year. Big win. People said it meant nothing, but I feel rejuvenated, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks again for everything you do, and fight on.
I know. Listen, thanks for listening to us out there late at night in Ohio, and it's 3 hours later over there. Yeah, I mean, you probably go back to like, I don't know, who would you think has 12 solo tackles? Like Sua Cravens or Chena Nwosu or something. It's got to be someone who's always all over the place to make that kind of numbers on solo tackles. Pretty damn amazing. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Happy New Year.
Have a good night.
And we have a couple more. Hi, caller. Thank you for hanging in there. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Enrique, my friend.
Enrique, how you doing?
From Oxnard. Yeah.
Well, now you move around a little bit. It's Oxnard, and then it's like LA. You're always on the move, Enrique.
No, Oxnard.
Okay. Just checking. All right. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to put an injection in your arm for the Trojans so we can be great next year. I couldn't go without wishing you guys the best of the years. A few things that I noticed from this team. I don't know how to explain this, but even when Caleb Williams was playing, I felt that I had a weight on my back, that I couldn't breathe, that something was going to go wrong. And in this game, which every sports writer and all the USC shows that we're talking about the Holiday Bowl, the one we just played. Oh, no, this is not important. You know what? By ending the way that we ended, we send a message to the nation. This quarterback, you got to say what you want, but he has stayed at USC like a beggar, waiting for his turn. How about me, coach? Waiting in the back. Everybody leaving, and I have to tell you, this is the way I feel. If Mr. Tuckett Curtis left and Dominique and this and that, well, you know what? Let them go. They're not really Trojans. Trojans stick it out like the 300 ones that fought the Persians. We are the university of might. We're going to build USC the best possible way. Well, I'm so happy that we ended up this way. And the way that the team played, I felt like, wow, is that USC? I thought it was another team playing with all those different players and stuff. I was so very happy, guys. And I could feel the momentum, and you can feel the cloud of players protecting the quarterback, making the moves. The way, I mean, he got rid of the ball to the exact moment, not stupidly. He's very sharp. So, Mr. Howard from Kansas State, stay over there. We don't need you. USC has a quarterback now, so don't even come because you're going to lose. Competition goes to Miller time. So, anyway, I just wanted to tell you one last thing to carry us into the next year. It cannot be my imagination, but I'm sorry, but the kicker is going backwards. The kicker, as soon as he got his scholarship, he began to miss extra points, and he began to miss field goals.
Wow, good point.
What is going on with the guy? He never kicks the ball in the end zone. We need to start looking for a new kicker. The guy is too short. We need a better kicker. I am sick of everybody. He kicks it to the what, 10, 15-yard line, and they already got 15, 20 more yards on us. And then he's missing extra points, and he missed that last one. So anyway, my idea is let's get maybe a special teams coach, because we don't have one. But I know Riley can work his magic, and we're gonna be good.
Yeah.
If we can just get rid of the what's his name? Oregon, the farm team. You know, my mom said that money is not everything, but it can buy a lot of things. They buy the players. We buy history. They buy the players. Can we do something about that? We have to work better with the NIL. somehow USC has to pull in the players that were coming to USC for all the years and years going back. So, you know what? When everybody starts telling me, and with this I leave you, that Oregon has a national title, I'll start believing. We have 12, well, 11 and one that they said we didn't have, and many others. I think they should give Reggie Bush his Heisman. That's terrible. Give him back his Heisman. Let us breathe. Let us be USC. Let us do the conquest. Let's go around with the horse, with everything. We have tradition. We have history. USC is the greatest. Guys,
great call.
You are the best. God bless you. Okay.
Happy New Year, Enrique.
Happy New Year. Great call. Great call. Yeah, a couple of things. Well, first one, the most important. So let's talk about Dennis Lynch really quick. He made the point that he started missing kicks when he got his scholarship. I'm not as concerned about not getting the ball. I mean, I am concerned about not getting the ball into the end zone, but I'm more concerned about, that field goal he missed at UCLA early in the game.
He shanked it.
And then this one in the Holiday Bowl. And these are, I mean, I'd like to see, now he nails that 53-yarder, and then he keeps missing these chip shots.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he's been very consistent with his extra points. He's missed one extra point in his career. So I'm going to push that one to the side because, you can't be perfect. But he's missing some very makeable field goals that we just, like when you're watching Arizona kick field goals last night, did you see that guy? It's like you knew that thing he was going to crush that thing through the uprights. That's the way it should be USC. I don't think I'm an apologist. There goes that word again. I don't think you need a special teams coordinator, guys. I keep hearing we need a special teams coach. It's a dedicated coach that's just basically a special teams guy that we're doing. There are guys with coordinator experience that are on the staff. They do coach special teams. We had a guy, John Baxter, who was supposed to be the guru. We also had Snyder here, which also another guru of special teams. And what did that give us? A hell of a lot of L's. There's three parts to football. I agree. You do need to tighten that up. I'm not still in the camp where I think we have to have a dedicated, take a coach who could be coaching another position and put him as a special teams guy. I know, Matt, you're going to disagree with me. Go ahead.
Well, I do think you need a dedicated guy, but I would say that if the difference between retaining Taylor Mays and not retaining Taylor Mays is having a special teams coordinator, no, we don't need a special teams coordinator. If that keeps Taylor Mays on staff, so that's one plot point to consider. But as for Dennis Lynch, yeah, you cannot miss the number of 35-yard field goals that he's missed. I'm sorry, you need to look elsewhere for a kicker. Period.
I'm not sure you guys think all kickers are 6'3" or something? I mean, kickers are genuinely kind of on the short side, aren't they? I mean, there've been some tall kickers in NFL and through history, but
yeah, it's not. That's short. Not. Like being short or tall. It's all about your leg. That's what matters.
Right. Bring it up. Robles.
Older USC fans will remember from the Notre Dame rivalry, 30 years ago. Reggie Ho, remember him? He was a little pipsqueak, but he was reliable for the Fighting Irish. So, yeah.
And Robles,
can you do the job?
Robles is a kicker that can put the ball into the end zone. So, as far as kickoffs are concerned, that part of it should be taken care of. So, Joe Houston's brought up. I think we're wrapping down. So, really quickly before we get out of here, I do want to bring up the point of Jacoby Lane and Makai Lemon, which I've been trying to do all night because we get it split up. So, we talked about we talked about Miller. We talked about the line. We talked about now we got to talk about the receivers, and they really did show out. Those two big plays early by Makai Lemon, those big explosive plays that set up, that got us going on those drives. That's just a little piece of what we're going to see. I'd like to keep him on. I think he showed, hey, coach, I want to play offense. I am a dynamic. He was, as far as the star ratings, he was a 5-star, I think, in one or two of the rating systems. And he was definitely way up there. He was a top 50 overall and one of the top receivers in the country. So that's just a taste of what he's doing. But I'm the most excited. I've been talking about it for weeks and weeks and weeks. I want to see what Makai Lemon can do. We did see it. The biggest play, yes, that third down where he reached back and caught that ball slide, that was amazing. But the one to me just made me drool. was how he creates separation in the corner of the end zone. You know, a goal. This is a great, not good. This was the number one goal, red zone defense in the country. And when you have a playmaker like him, 6'4", you know, can jump, can create space, can box people out, and go up there and get the ball. That's a dynamic tool on third down and in the end zone, because we're losing Taj. Taj is gone. You know, maybe Jacoby, a little bit different role, right? Different build, different game, but he could be that guy, that Mr. Dependable on third down. That he might evolve into that, in my opinion.
I would just add that, you know, hey, if Zachariah Branch can figure out route running in the off season and get that nailed down, like, you know, he did not have a breakout game at wide receiver, but, you know, if he figures it all out, if Zachariah Branch can figure it all out, and you put him with Lane, and you put him with Lemon, and you put Deuce Robinson in that mix, I mean, that is 4 elite pass catchers right there. USC's receiver situation just, you know, was such a disappointment in 2023, but we go into 2024 with full optimism, and that is a great way to close the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Enrique, great call. Always appreciate your calls. You guys, so I think we had another one of the books, right, Matt? We're done here. Thank you all for calling in. Great win by the Trojans. A lot to look forward to as far as the season goes on. There are a lot of questions that were kind of answered, especially on NIL. That's going to be a little bit different going forward. You guys, make sure you check us out on Monday night. As always. Oh, wait, no. Monday's a holiday, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll do a show in the middle of the week, so just stay tuned for when we do our alternate day and time for next week.
Okay, so keep an eye out. Again, another reason why
we will be coming at you with Mark Rogers for an alternate slot time show next week after the bowl.
Just one more reason why you need to be subscribed down here, because we'll announce it. I also, if you're following us on our social medias, that's another way to. I always, and Matt does, we tweet out when we're having shows. That's one more way you can do it. And then also, my goodness, please give Reggie his trophy back. 4,821 days. This man's waited long enough. The NCAA, you look really stupid at this point. So for Matt, I'm Tim. Thank you guys for being here. Great win. Happy New Year to everybody. Be safe, be smart. And there's a thing called Uber. Use it. All right. Love you guys. Thank you for being here. Fight on.